Moving on to episode 3 of Miss Marvel. Ahead of Amir's wedding, Kamala may face grave consequences due to a crucial decision that she makes. There's also the revelation that Kamran belongs to a family of jinn. That would be DJI Dolan. And that Kamala's friend Nakia was in fact elected to the mosque board. Before you jump in, I actually want to get this started, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, go ahead. Perfect.
So I made a point of it this week to put my phone down and focus on this show. And what happened when I did that and focus on the show and really tried to accept the show for what it was or what it is. And what I found out was that I do think there is some things to like here. It's not without flaws. And I'll get into that as we discuss the episode. It's not without flaws, but I think that both of us last week were on a bit of a standoffish point with this show that it's not for us, it's for younger people, whatever. And maybe it was just a case of this being a better episode too. But I found much more to like in this episode than I had in the first 2 episodes. And I think in large part just to the fact of, all right, I'm going to really focus in on this. And like I said, there was one flaw in particular that I'll talk about when we talk about the episode. But I said this last week, I really like Kamala. I think that that as a character, she's very charming. I like the actress. This is her first job, by the way. She'd never acted prior to this. I read that somewhere online. But I think that she's quite charming. Like I said last week, when it comes to her being a superhero, I love how comically unathletic she is.
Yes.
I think that's hilarious. And maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not intentional. I don't know. But I actually was quite taken by this episode. And I feel better about the show moving forward with a renewed level of excitement.
I also did the same thing, Brenton.
Oh, okay.
It's funny you said that. I said to myself, because I started watching it yesterday and I got a minute in and I was just like, I need to actually focus on this show. So I'm going to not watch it today. And literally because of our conversation last week, I just couldn't focus. I had not a lot going on because I'm home and I don't have a lot going on, sometimes my mind races and I feel like I need to do other things. Yeah. So I was like, I'm just going to sit here tomorrow. I'm going to take Jane to work. I'm going to come back and it's going to be the first thing I do. So I'm drinking my coffee. And usually when I drink my coffee, I'm usually just kind of listening to a podcast or something. So I'm not really on my phone. Mm-hmm. My phone is obviously playing the podcast. But I was like, instead of a podcast, I'm going to watch this show. Mm-hmm. And I 100% agree with you. Whether or not I think this episode was just better. Yeah, I really do. The action and the color was way more emphasized in this episode too, which I think helps. Which obviously tells you it's geared for younger people just because there's splashier colors. But it seemed like this episode, to go back to everyone, is this show that this actually matters in the greater scheme of what we're talking about than just
maybe.
And I don't mean it just. What I mean is not just episode by episode, but I think this show that this series actually evolves. It's 12 episodes, right?
11.
Okay. Yeah. So it shows that there is something behind all this. Is basically what I mean. Not necessarily that it relates into the greater Marvel, the MCU. Yeah. But just that there's a greater Ms. Marvel universe. And And I think that was important to kind of showcase that there's something bigger than just what we realized in those first 2 episodes.
Yeah. I'm struggling with the names. And that's probably just me being a white guy thing. I'm gonna be honest. Like,
it happens.
It's I'm having a hard time keeping track of, especially some of the older characters, because it's like, who's she? Is she an aunt, or is that like grandma or great grandma's nephew's niece? And so there's that. I do think the episodes are still a little bit on the long side.
They are. Yeah, I agree.
Is this only 6? Because credited, it's only 6 actually. Hang on, let me take a look. I thought it was 11. How many episodes is Miss Marvel? Oh, it is only 6. I am wrong.
Okay.
I thought
either
was.
way,
I thought somewhere I read that it was 11. Maybe it's
either way. It's still just showing that it's greater. There's more out there.
Yeah.
Than what we originally thought.
So, and maybe it makes a little bit more sense now, knowing that we're only working with 6 episodes instead of 11. But I do think the episodes are still a bit long.
Yeah, I agree.
But then in this particular episode this week, I had a pretty big issue in terms of it being a flaw for me, was the fact that at the beginning of the episode, she's explained by this group of jinn what they are and what they need. And Cameron's like a kid of this dimension who's helping them, etc. So she's going to help them. She agrees to help them. And then in the middle of the episode, Bruno explains, well, it's possible, but it could be very dangerous. So she says, I'm going to help you. I just need more time. It could be very dangerous. And then in the flip of a switch, the people who are helping her are now the bad guys. Like,
right.
No, there's no build up to it.
That was weird.
I also don't understand how she and Bruno escaped the hotel without the department of whatever they're called, damage control, seeing them, because they were just there, like on the floor, and the damage control comes in and like sees all the bad guys and they're like, lock them up. And then there's just 2 kids and one of them's clearly enhanced and they're just like, don't pay attention to those 2.
Don't worry about it.
So see that little guy over there? We don't worry about that little guy over there. But it was kind of weird, like just how rushed it was. And then Cameron has decided that he likes this, kind of like unathletic, nerdy girl, and he's ready to go to bat for her with his family, or, quote unquote family, whatever. But it all felt very rushed. I will say I love the Bollywood scene, obviously. I think that was essential.
So good.
I thought it was awesome. But I just felt like things are maybe coming into focus a little bit more here than they were in the last episode. And I think that they need to do a better job of how they manage the time that they're given. I mean, obviously, this has already happened and they've already cut and edited it, everything. So I'm, might as well talk to a wall, but I'm hopeful that they're maybe a little bit better with how they manage their time in the next 3 episodes, as far as not wasting time or pacing things weirdly. Because I feel like if you're going to reveal that these people are like helpful, and then we get the story from her dad to Bruno in the convenience store, and he's like, oh, never heard that one before. And it's like, well, now he knows they're bad, but he doesn't say anything.
Right.
So I just felt like it was really strangely paced. And I think that what they should have done is reveal these people. Here's their story. Okay, I'm going to help you, whatever. And then leave their heel turn until next episode. I think that would have made more sense from a pacing standpoint. But I still, despite that, what I perceived to be a very glaring flaw in this particular episode, found it far more interesting and, I'm more on board than I was last week. Because last week I was almost like, maybe we just stop watching this. But we do Marvel, so that wasn't going to happen.
Right. No, I agree. I'm definitely way more invested in it. I definitely am. I wouldn't necessarily say be like excited, but I'm interested in what happens next. Your drink is clear because of the green screen.
Because of the green cup, yeah.
Like it. Yeah, no, I'm definitely way more interested in it now than I was, for sure.
Yeah. So hopefully it continues to evolve and, kind of build towards paying off what was built in this episode. So,
right. 100%.
Very good.